On the cold moon of Europa, the trenches line for thousands of miles. Frozen bodies become part of the wetworks, or rather, the iceworks. Joined forever in the war beyond the stars, it's the Vox Cascadia podcast.
You were all over that War for Europa stuff this weekend, weren't you,
Dude,
Connor?
I have been on that all weekend long. I've had such a blast with just seeing all the artwork and all the stupid memes about it. Best part of Twitter since Henry Kissinger died.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
So there's a guy that for a long time has been essentially just shit posting, kind of like in a public setting with his friends, doing as he's described it, the actual guy that started the trend, a Zine where it's like a naked gun, but in space fighting for a forever war in Europa. And then for whatever reason, on like Thursday of last week, it suddenly blew up. And like I follow a bunch of like people that do like 40K fan art and like Halo fan art, and just, my Twitter feed has a lot of that stuff because I'm a total loser. And it just has exploded with like popularity of people just like contributing to almost a like community setting of endless war fighting yetis and ice spiders and like mercenary future wars on the moon of Europa.
All right, I've never heard of that, but apparently you're deep into it. Tyler, you apparently heard of it too, or saw Connor posted about it.
Yeah. Connor made a little post about it, but I had been seeing a little bit of the art coming out. Some of the artists I follow also were posting about it. It's pretty cool stuff.
It feels like there's one of the artists I've been following now who's doing almost what feels like retro, like Rogue Trader style art, like very blocky, black and white, this bold art of just like it feels so perfectly like 80s.
So is there like a central hub we can find all this, or is this just like
it? Not really, no. There's like the one guy I could link who like started it and kind of has like his only real rule, and of course it's very light. He's like, it's not supposed to be something about the indomitable human spirit or like fighting the good fight. It's supposed to be just like a complete mockery of all those macho over the top settings, which is why, it's so great in the first place.
All right. Zack, have you ever heard of this?
Well, hello there. No, I haven't actually. This is the first time hearing of it.
By the way, Zack is joining us tonight, the Mr. Sisters of Battle himself, and he's coming to talk about Sanctifiers, the new big bad in our Kill Team game. Zack, how you been? You been getting in some Sanctifiers games?
Yeah, for sure. I have to call me Miss or Mr. Ecclesiarchy now, because now it's the whole church, not just the single part of it.
It's the entire church. So, thanks for joining us. What have you been up to lately? Anyways, we talked to you after your dominating win. Well, besides the staring off into the void piece where you kind of almost fumbled. What have you been up to since the Cascade Clash?
Well, real quick, I'll tell you about my little run with Sanctifiers and my first 10 games, how that's gone. I also want to say, Connor, that really reminds me of back when I was doing art. There was this challenge that was like, what was the Martian movie? Like John Carter of Mars?
Yeah, that like weird 2000s movie.
Yeah, before that, it was
very famous sci-fi book. Really good
it was
stuff.
Notoriously the hardest book to ever do concept art for. So there was also an art challenge of try to do concept art for John Carter of Mars, which is really interesting. It's just like, if you read the book, it's as crazy, if not more crazy than Dune, with these very intricate and detailed descriptions of all this weird stuff going on. It used to be like the hardest. People couldn't even conceive of how you would do art for it.
Oh, that sounds sweet. I'm definitely going to try and find the remnants of that challenge. I just tagged you guys as well in the Cascadia Discord. So if you want to scroll up when you have a chance. But also, speaking of kind of 2000s movies, did you guys ever watch The Chronicles of Riddick?
Yep.
Love The Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah, very fun movies. Sierra and me watched them for the first time probably a year or two ago. And what was fun is she didn't realize that I think the first one, Pitch Black, was technically part of the Riddick universe. So she was describing this movie to me. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's part of Riddick universe. And she had no idea what the hell I was talking about. So that was very fun to discover the weirdness of those movies together.
Yeah, now, insane series.
Now, did you ever play the Escape from Butcher Bay game, which was incredible?
I did not even know there was a game. Now I kind of want to.
It was on
It's
like
like
360.
it was like three, maybe original Xbox, PC also. It is a brutal stealth game.
Yeah, those are. Who was the studio? Was it Starbreeze that made that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've done some other stuff since then. But yeah, those games were super good. Um, they're doing the Brothers Tale of Two Sons games. Payday 2, I guess they did too. So yeah, they Swedish company that did some of those. Payday 3, I guess too, but nobody likes Payday 3 apparently. So,
I haven't played it, so I don't know.
the Payday games are supposed
Payday,
to be super fun. At least Payday 2, it's supposed to be a really fun kind of co-op, like first-person shooter game.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It's very like goofy, which is fun because it's a like you can do it super stealthy and like perfect, which is always pretty fun. But you can also just run in guns blazing, and like both are totally valid ways to play the game, which is nice.
yeah, I really enjoyed the Payday 2. Payday 1 was also fantastic. I put so many hours into those games. So, but they really went off the deep end.
Yeah, they've gone crazy. But if you're looking for like a new kind of more hardcore stealth approach game that's also bank robbing, the company that did GTFO, if you guys ever heard of that game, is now working on like a similar hardcore co-op shooter thing, but like bank robbing and heisting, which I'm very interested in playing when that eventually comes out.
Did you guys ever play Battlefield Hardline?
Yes.
Dude, Hardline was so good.
I really liked it. It gets dunked on, and like people say it sucked. I really enjoyed Hardline. I thought it was a great game.
Me too. I thought it was so good. You know, like it took all of the good stuff that was going on in Battlefield 3 at the time and made it fun and silly, you know?
Yeah, I'm actually super excited for Battlefield 6. I've always been a Battlefield girly, and I can't wait for 6 to come out. So, but we're here to talk about Kill Team.
Talking about sequels that take the best parts about something and then make them fun and silly. Let's talk about Sanctifiers, huh?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So you're the ecclesiarchy, Mr. Ecclesiarchy these days. So Zach, we've talked about Sanctifiers a little bit on previous podcasts, but we never really dove deep into them. And I was talking to you, and you said that once the data slate hits, you're looking to probably main them and put out a guide for them as well. But where are they at right now? Now it's Monday. We're like 2 days away from a data slate. So when this comes out and y'all hear this on Thursday, this is going to be outdated, probably.
Can we talk about how the Pope died, like over like reactions about incoming nerfs potentially? Like, geez, drama queen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I've seen some people freak out about their team maybe getting nerfed, but that's kind of a lot there, buddy. So
a little gauche. Yeah, so I'd say, the last time we were on and we were talking about novitiates, you all asked me a question, what am I going to play next? And I said, maybe Inquisition, maybe Sanctifiers. I don't know a lot about the team yet. Their rules hadn't dropped, actually. And after reading the rules for Sanctifiers, it's very obvious that they are not only in organization close to the novitiate team, right? They're like part of the ecclesiarchy. That means they're part of the same church, though maybe they're a little more rogue because they do have some men under arms. That's a no-no. But their rules are so close to what the novitiate rules try to do. Primarily, one of their faction abilities, Blaze, is called the exact same thing between the two teams. So it really does feel like until they print a Sisters of Battle team, I am definitely on Sanctifiers for now. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, have you you mentioned that you got the Sanctifiers, and you mentioned you got like 3 or 4 other boxes too to build your Sanctifiers team. How's that coming?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's start with the conversions because that's always a fun spot, right? So I got Sanctifiers, and for those who don't know, I have these like incredibly kit bashed up novitiate models that mostly come from like novitiate headquarter models or like hero models that I've essentially just shoved onto 28s and have them do their thing. And I wanted something similar with my Sanctifiers. I built the box thinking I could do some like swaps and I would be fine with it. I actually ended up building 14 models, and then I took 10 of those 14 apart and I ordered 4 different kits to fill in those 10 models. So take that what you will. But I needed some kit bashing. A lot of people get their I don't know, fun hobby stuff from painting or maybe making whatever. Like for me, it's kit bashing up a team I know I'm going to use for a long time.
Yeah,
Amen.
you should.
Amen.
You used your you had a couple games with novitiates, so fair to say that I think you got some use out of them. Do you still have a running total on how many games you've gotten out of them, Zach?
Yeah, so I mean these are only competitive games, so I don't count every game that I don't like. Me and my opponent might not agree or might agree aren't competitive. In last edition, let's see, I have of competitive games 266, and then of this edition I'm looking. No, wait, did I get that right? Yeah, sorry, my spreadsheet's messing up. And then this edition I have 81. So that's 81. I don't know. That's
340 something.
320. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So lot, and obviously those don't those don't count a good amount of my games, especially if it's just like teaching someone or whatever.
It's wild to me that you have 340 competitive games with one team, and I don't think I have 340 games with all of my teams. So that's some dedication. Connor, are you anywhere near there with your robots?
I think like doing rough math, I probably had somewhere like 250-ish of Hunter Clade last edition. So not quite as much, but I was definitely up there for one tricking.
Tyler, what about you? You got a team that you I know you were in novitiates a little bit, and then you went legionaries for a while before they got broken.
Greg and I put in a lot of reps on novitiates. I think in the couple months leading up to the first Tacoma, we probably got in 100 games, and then they got benched for me. And then after that, I probably got 200 games on Legionary in over the course of them.
So Zach, you like the Blaze. What else do you like about this team? And can you tell us a little bit about what's just broken with this team, and then just tell us how you think they're going to fix it too, because they can't leave them. This is going to be, people are thinking it's going to be like an emergency, like Colts fix potentially.
Yeah, well, I want to say so I have a couple of things written down, general guidelines I wanted to get to as we go down. But I want if y'all have a question at any point, stop me because as you have questions, I'm sure our listeners would have the same ones. But what I wanted to do is actually wanted to start with maybe how the team plays, and then I'll go into the broken combo. Like you said, it's not going to be quite evergreen content because I assume it'll be the first thing changed. I'll talk about how that is. But how the team plays is really interesting, and it kind of frames the whole discussion of how the team needs to be changed, maybe to broaden balance, or what ID the team has and what place they should hope to occupy in the larger rosters of Kill Team. So I mean, I'm playing the team right now. I'll probably be playing them no matter where they go. Last edition, I was playing novitiates, and near the last 3 months of play, my personal evaluation of the novitiate team was a D in a competitive setting because the popular competitive picks were very bad for the team. So while it may have been like a C just on whatever its face, because we had a bunch of things like its counters, like scouts, etc. So I'll play a D tier team. And I'll take it and I'll have fun. Sanctifiers that go that way, I will as well. And so I kind of take the analysis of that way of like, well, it's going to be the team I'm playing. And what does the team want to be doing? Well, for Sanctifiers, they have some of the worst stats of any kill teams we have, surprisingly. At the end of the day, it's a 10 human team with a flying dog, so 11 activations, and they don't have the best profiles. And that's really important as we talk about some of their abilities because they're gonna seem insane. Because if they were on Angels of Death, they would be insane. And if they were on even Felgor, because they have 10 wounds and they have all this like crazy melee like stuff, that would be insane too. But these are just 10 humans with a little doggo, right? Or a little cherubbo. And so that's really important. So how the team plays is they essentially have to be trading because they're never gonna really survive in a crackback. The trading game has to be very pushed for them, or else people are just gonna come in, they're gonna kill you, it's gonna be over. Star Striders kind of occupy this with their asset. They're like, oh yeah, and you get a extra plasma gun that goes across the board every single turn. Like, oh, okay, I guess that's one way to make like 10 humans work. So that's really important. And then, but the wombo combo, or like, I don't know if we want to talk. In my mind, I don't think about balance in terms of this is too pushed across the board. I think about it in what aren't teams allowed to do. There are some things in the game that probably just shouldn't be allowed. And one thing that two teams do right now that probably need to be changed on both of them is you don't get to end up in your opponent's deployment on the first turn. There's like a couple reasons, but I think it's kind of self-explanatory. Like, if you have a area of effect weapon, it's not supposed to be touching inside your opponent's deployment zone in the first turn. And that's the big deal with Sanctifiers right now, with a little wombo, like a little combo here that they have to move very quickly. So kind of to go over that combo, it's the leader has an ability where everyone within Sermon, which we'll get to in a second, everyone within Sermon gets to make a free reposition. And so that effectively means 6 inches of free movement for someone within Sermon. They also have a way to give APL to 9 of their 11 models. So that also means they get a move dash and an action. So you can imagine you scout up move for 3 inches, you take a free move for another 6 inches, and then you do the whole, move dash on your own activation for 18 inches of movement, and then you shoot. Right, then you get to say hi. That's bad. We can go into why that's bad if you're interested. I can talk about all the ways that gets really bad. But I think that'll probably be the first thing that they change.
Well, that was kind of that was also kind of one of the big issues the Pathfinders people had was they had an alpha with, at their last edition when they were good, they had a crazy alpha strike where it was like you could get one guy up the board, right, and do that. But Sanctifiers can get a whole bunch of people, right?
Yeah, so that's another thing. So to pick apart, again, we don't know because the team's barely been out if this will be included or not in the balance. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on something that, might be gone in literally 2 days. But I'll say the thing that makes it really egregious is they have a operative that's an assassin, and that's 3 APL. And then they also have a cherub, which gives 2 APL. So they actually get to do this with 2 different operatives. So there's always 2 operatives that might threaten, and they can threaten either a Melta, a Flamer, or they can do a Salvo. And then on top of that, they have this assassin who's going to chuck a crack grenade at you. So they get to pick, like, oh, are you an elite team? I chuck the Melta. Are you a horde team? Okay, we'll do Torrent 2. Are you like some kind of weird in between elf thing? Okay, I'll salvo 2 people because you're going to stop me from being able to get like the multiple hit on a Torrent 2. So all that is to say is like, yikes. Pretty much yikes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty gross how not only how fast they are, but like just how aggressive you can be with them. They can put the right threat where they need to be, and it's hard to counteract it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think the most likely change we see to Sanctifiers to start is the ability is called Lead the Procession that the leader has to give out free movement. I'm just going to assume for the rest of our conversation that the most likely change to that is it doesn't happen on turn 1. There might be some other changes, but some people say like, oh, maybe they'll reduce sermon size. I actually have like a little top, like I want to tell you guys a little bit about sermon. Might get to that in a second. But I think the most likely change we see is that Lead the Procession probably doesn't happen on turn 1.
Yeah. Do you think though? So Lead the Procession doesn't happen on turn 1, which I feel like a lot of the super moves that people have, like they don't let you do it on turn 1, and so I'm surprised this got through testing. And I've heard that Games Workshop, the theory is that they only test the two teams against each other, but I'm surprised that this got through, because every other team, their super move kind of thing always happens after turn 1.
I'm wondering if this was something where it was like, this is going to get changed tomorrow or, Wednesday when it happens. But by the time the books were printed, was like after they realized, or was before they realized like this is going to be a problem and everything else like that has been removed from the team. So it was just like too late to change the printed books.
Yeah, and they might have some ideas because it's operative ability. Very few, and this may be the first when it gets changed, very few operative abilities only happen on certain turns. So like it could be they just had a underlying principle that like, oh, this is a leader ability, then it just always happens. Kind of like what's the Mandrake just a scratch or whatever, right? The Obliax. I think that one's also kind of in line with like, this is kind of weird, but it's a leader ability, and that's just kind of how they're supposed to work. But I do think, yeah, it'll probably get changed.
Hate that ability, by the way. We're just gonna put that out there. That ability is so fucking annoying.
Well, on that, actually, I want to save that to. Well, yeah. Okay, so the other thing is, we were talking about how essentially these are 10 humans, relatively bad stats. One of the interesting trade-offs is the leader doesn't have a shooting weapon. That's almost true of no other leader in the game, right? And certainly true of the most recent leaders. The reason I bring that up is because the leader does need a great ability for this team. Like, if you think about these 10 human teams or this 11 operative teams, that's like the commando, the commando boss knob. He's given out an APL and he has 13 health and a crazy like everything. It's the novitiate superior. Even and they actually don't have these big hero models like some of the hordes have, like the blooded Ogren or the patriarch from Brood, like or like Chaos Cult getting these 13 wound crazy. All that is to say is the team is incredibly reliant on abilities to make up for a lot of shortfallings in other areas of like raw stats and just the actual roster of the team, which is why I think some of these abilities probably got a little too pushed, because you have to essentially juice them with all these things or else they're just a 10 human team dying all the time.
They've got a couple. They got a couple different little things to keep them alive, though, too, don't they? They're a little more durable than they seem to be.
Yeah, it kind of depends. So that's an interesting one. So essentially, the things, and this is kind of brings me to, so there's the alpha. The alpha's probably growing away. A lot of people right now are talking about Sanctifiers as this hyper aggressive team that's going out and trying to do stuff on your opponent's side of the board. But that isn't always how it has to play, and that's mostly because of three different abilities. One is Sermon provides damage mitigation. And so while they are 7/7 operatives, in the right place, they're like 8 to 9 wound operatives, maybe. That's not nearly as good as Felgor's mitigation plus healing. It's not as good as Novitiate healing. Their medic doesn't bring people back to life. So they have some trade offs, but what that does mean is they're a little bit harder to kill than a normal human with 7 wounds. They might have like 9. So that can be pretty good. The more important thing, though, is they have two really, really great ploys, which are just a scratch, which is always amazing. Just competitive play, just a scratch is one of the best ploys that can be printed because you can always use it whenever you need it. Whenever the math just like is just wrong for your opponent, just a scratch works. It also crazily turns down fights. It's effectively giving any operative on your team fight first at any point you want for a CP. So that really helps. They also have Lookout Sir. What that is means is like if you select the Orator or the Miracleist, and you try to shoot them or you try to fight them, they can say like, "Oh, you're gonna fight this other person instead," or "You're gonna shoot this other person instead." And that's really good for keeping key units alive a little bit longer. This is particularly important for delivering a leader with only 10 wounds, a 5-up save that has to stay in the like heat of battle, or else they're not giving the buffs needed to their little minions. So that Lookout Sir is really good paired with Just a Scratch. And then there's this third part or fourth part of this combo, which is they have a relic, and it's the relic's almost the same from Brood Brothers, almost the same from Wordblade, if you might be familiar. It allows whenever a model is killed, they get to do a free action, but it can't be a fight action. And so this allows that if, one of your preachers, one of your little dudes, they're killed, they can do a shot before they die. They can do a mission action before they die. This pairs really, really well with the abilities and ploys we were just talking about. What can happen a lot of the time, this is almost like the defensive combo of the team, and what like a lot of people will strive to get value from is assume you move up something and you try to shoot the leader. The leader will say, no, you'll shoot this guy instead. And so what they do is they say, look, they play the Lookout Sir ploy. They say, okay, shoot this. And usually it'll be like a really good shooter. It'll be like, shoot this flamer, shoot this gunner, shoot this melta instead. You're like, what? That seems really bad. Like, well, it's just what you shoot that guy, they die, then they shoot on death to kill you. So if like assume like your Melta is already gone and shot a guy, he's just sitting there waiting to take the Lookout Sir shot from someone trying to get at your leader, and then shoot that guy as well for a nice 2-for-1. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's I think with Brood Brothers though they have to be ready though. Is that with Sanctifiers? Do they have to be readied?
No, they don't. So that is like a very key difference. Is it's just whenever they die, and so that makes it able to you get value out of something. They shoot you, they do their mission action or whatever. Then the leader chucks them in front of a grenade that's meant for them or whatever, and then they shoot the guy back, and all of a sudden you've like gotten a 2-for-1 or something like that. Or what can happen that's even worse is they tell you to shoot the other guy. Your shoot doesn't go like exactly correct. Well, maybe they're supposed to like you just barely get to the 9 wound break point because of the damage reduction, but then they have just a scratch. And so like now you haven't even killed that operative that you were trying to. So it's like this whole little defensive little section they can set up. That's been pretty good.
So do you think they're as broken as they are perceived to be? Or do you think it's just kind of like they're a boogeyman right now because they have some stuff that people haven't figured out how to play around?
Yeah,
I mean,
I think like generally when people talk about teams very often, they're not gonna like go and hunker into the 200 plus run of a team, right? They try to think about repeatable sequences that can always get them ahead. And Sanctifiers have that right now with this reliable way to move up. If you just assume I move up the board with my best gunner, I shoot a guy, I win initiative, I shoot another guy. Well, I get you really far ahead very reliably. And because I think a lot of the internet discussion talks about like what's the one simple trick doctors hate to get people ahead in kill team games. And so right now Sanctifiers have that, and it probably needs to be removed. Yeah.
so how would you fix that then? So I mean, we got a balanced data slate coming out this week apparently. I mean, it's only been what, a month since they came out, and so they've been in.
I think it depends if you count official release or not. I think it might be like 3 weeks or something. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah. So, but like, what would I do to change them? I think lead the procession to once a turn is a really really great start, and then from there you could probably see how they play out. I think that's probably the needed change, and then a lot of other stuff it becomes really hard, and that actually gets to another thing I want to talk about, which is sermon, because a lot of things people have been talking about is like, oh well, what if we just reduce the sermon range? Like, what if we bring sermon range from the leader from like 6 inches to 3 inches? The problem is like at the end of the day, these are pretty not great humans. Um, and 3 of their 6 ploys require sermon. And so, actually, is it 4? It's no. Yeah, it's 4. So
One,
4 of
two,
their 6 ploys
three.
require sermon. And so every inch you reduce on the sermon aura, you essentially like nerf um the team's like half of their ploys. And like the thing is like 6 inches is a lot bigger than 5 inches, which is a lot bigger than 4 inches. Like every inch you take off sermon, you like the first inch you remove like 30% of the area if you just bring it from like 6 to 5. So it gets really, really rough when you start thinking about that.
Do you think that they maybe instead of, they keep the sermon size the same, or they keep that sermon area, because it's basically like a 13-inch bubble around your confessor. Um, Rather than changing that, do you think they just need to change some of the things you can do with it? Like maybe you can just do like a free dash, or you can do, or if you use, say, a charge or say you use a full reposition, then you can't reposition it, expend that count you count it as having done one for the turn, like some other teams have stuff like that, without making the sermon size or the sermon area as small.
Mm, I think that could be good. I think like iterating towards something in small steps is usually what the team tries to do, which is great because sometimes they like really have it out for a team and then they'll give them like 4 nerfs in a row and then they're gone forever. Um, so like, I, the slates do come out every couple months. I would like to see the first one be relatively small, see how things play out because there are some teams that Sanctifiers have, like, even with all this crazy stuff we're talking about now, there are games to be had versus certain teams. But if we were going to add something more than once per turn, you might also consider the confessor might need to be on engage. Um, that way, the positioning of the confessor gets a lot harder. And then also, you might consider it has to be the first action the confessor takes, or the confessor can't dash, one or two of those. Because right now, one thing that is relatively easy to do in later turns is you dash the confessor to get within 6 of like just everyone you need, and then you move them to give everyone their free movement. That also makes it a little easier to play, and it also keeps the confessor a little like more concealed if they can just sit there and like not have an engage token. I think that would be another interesting thing to consider for the team.
I like the idea of the confessor having to be on engage. Do you think now you can also, if the confessor dies, you can pick someone else to be your orator, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that, say for example, say for shits and giggles that we say that they have to be on engage, would you say that anybody has to be on engage to do it, or just the confessor? Because the other people's bubbles are a lot smaller.
Yeah, and they also, well, that's another like that, and therein lies kind of the problem with the team is you have this leader who again doesn't have any weapons. His stats are like okay, but it's not a patriarch here, right? It's not what we're talking about. And then the team really relies on most of their ploys being within sermon, but the other operatives also don't have lead the procession. And so honestly, as soon as the confessor dies, all this is kind of out the window because you can never do it again.
Well, that makes sense. That does take it down quite a bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think like another thing to consider is the team also has an equipment right now where you pick an orator, right? And if you have an orator alive in your ready step, so before strategic ploys, um, if you roll a 2d6 under the wounds they have, you get a command point. Right now, that's like it's a lot of reasons to keep your orator alive, and 3 free command points is another great reason to keep them alive. And so, like, 3 command points for an equipment is probably too much. I feel like we've seen that on teams like Legionary, etc., where it's like, ooh, probably we don't want to be generating 3 command points, maybe ever. Like, I even think the Phobos, like on a 4-up, you generate one, probably ain't great either. Like, maybe every equipment should be capped to maybe a max of 2 CP, but even then, yeah, that's one thing you could also take a look at.
Connor, have you had a chance to play into Sanctifiers, or do you have any thoughts on Sanctifiers? What it's like to have a good team?
Fuck off, you dick. No, I've not played it against them yet. They definitely look neat. I'm excited that they'll hopefully get some changes this to be a little bit less crazy, because there's definitely just that unfortunate thing of they're so crazy good with that turn one thing that a lot of people aren't wanting to bring them either to play as or play against. So hopefully any changes that we get this week will put them in a better spot, so that way people are more comfortable playing with them. And in terms of maybe getting a good team, maybe they'll buff Hunterclade, but I'm not holding my breath.
Well, let's look into the future, or the past if you're listening to this when it comes out. And Zach, any last thoughts on Sanctifiers, at least where they sit right now, that you want to get into? Because I want to go to the balanced data slate next.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, one last thing I wanted to just touch on real quick is Blaze is actually really great on the team. And for those who aren't familiar, it's just like if one of their flamers retains a crit, you get to put a token on someone, and they take D3 when they activate. One thing that's incredibly scary for any person playing against novitiates, and now Sanctifiers even more so, is if you ever activate and then immediately die to a flame token. That is crazy. Like, imagine you have to pay for the privilege of incapacitating your operative. Whenever it happens, just like, and I lose an activation, and I also lose everything I was going to do. All right, I guess you're GA2ing now in my face. Sounds great. And so Blaze is one of the things that is crazy. Like, essentially, most of the flamers are 3/3 damage. If you're a team that has like 7 or 10 health, just be scared, be very very scared. Because so that means if like 2 or 3 hits go in and then you immediately die once you're activated, that's one thing that I think a lot of other people aren't talking about, because I think it's maybe something you can only get a sense when you put the team on the table and kind of see it. um that was like one of my win conditions on novitiates, was to get you on 1 wound with a blaze token to give me a GA2 the next turn, or the turn that it happens, whatever. Like, it is crazy crazy good.
It always feels really good when it happens with Hand of the Archon and their poison tokens, like that was always good.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got for Sanctifiers for now. We can check in later for more.
Yeah, once they get a little bit of balance, you were, like I said, you were going to be doing a how to play guide once you get some more reps in them. So love to have you back with me. Just do it's like a super deep dive. We'll go operative by operative and teach people how to play with the new Ecclesiarchy hotness. So Sunday was Easter, and the Easter Bunny brought us news that this week we are going to have a balanced data slate, and it feels like it's pretty quick. It's less than 3 months. I think the last one dropped on like January 30th. So I'm wondering if y'all think that this is coming out is a reactionary balanced data slate because of where we're at with Goremongers and the Sanctifiers, or this is actually when they planned on doing it.
I kind of feel like it's reactionary. I definitely think that they knew this was coming in hot and are responding accordingly. The community reaction has been pretty strong too.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people that the sky is falling because of these teams, and I'd be curious how many people actually even played against them. And there is some things that are messed up with them, but yeah. So do we think that? So Tyler, based on that theory that it's reactionary, do you think the Goremongers and Sanctifiers will get a balance this week?
I have no clue. I hope so. Mostly, whether they get balanced or not, and what happens determines on whether they're playable this weekend at the Rum Runners.
So you're saying that if they don't have a balance, we're not going to let people play them?
Not going to let people play Sanctifiers. It's supposed to be a fun event.
All right. Well, yeah. What are we going to do if somebody like shows up with Sanctifiers and they don't get a balance?
No, we'll be announcing it beforehand, and hopefully they have another team ready, or we'll have a team on hand, possibly to swap it out. So,
All right. Connor, what do you think? Do you think that this is going to be reactionary and they're going to get a nerf, or do you think it's going to be this just happened to drop and it's all the conspiracy theorists think that's why it's happening?
I think it's got to be reactionary across the board. The community has been talking about how crazy this is, like to the point where it feels like cultists and Inquisition when they dropped. And so I'm just expecting this to be a bit of reactionary, and then anything else that they kind of were planning on doing, they'll just move it up to this point as well.
Zack,
I think. Yeah. I mean, I think so. In terms of like where the teams are, right? I think both need to be touched for different reasons. And then a lot of people say like, what is it akin to? And I put it, as I've played against a lot of teams on release that are ridiculously far broken, right? I'd like, for instance, some things that were worse would be like Custodes on release. If anyone played that match, I'm sorry. Probably obviously Colts on release didn't feel super fun.
No,
Commandos,
basically
the
it's
three
on
sneaky.
release.
Yeah, right. Depends on like when. Yeah. Depends if you had a good like what do you call it? An infinite grenade spamming Pathfinder player near you, and then what do you call it? Commandos, the three or the three sneaky get commandos. I think those teams are real, like those were maybe a level beyond what we're seeing. And I actually think it's really great to see the community reaction, because while I think all of the things I just said were probably a little further out in terms of balance, it's also great to see that the community's talking about stuff, and then hopefully we'll see in this balance data slate that the designers are like listening and have a stronger grip on the balance of the game than they used to, right? Like, yes, maybe Sanctifiers, Goremongers aren't as good as the teams I just said, but they're also getting fixed way quicker than those teams got fixed, which is super rad. Like, I don't know. Obviously, you don't ever want anything to be like released a little too far pushed out, but I also like feel good about where we are sitting. Well, I mean, I'll feel good post data slate. We'll see.
So for the data slate, what else, Connor? I'm sure you've got some wishes for the data slate for your baby robots. What how could we make you a happy Hunter Clade without just going straight back to your old stuff? Give me something fresh other than like the no. What's the
no negative thing?
Yeah, no negative thing. Give me something other than that.
Our ploys could use a lot of work. Like one of our ploys is we have to be in a specific imperative to get like a bonus. But beyond playing the command point during that firefight ploy, you have to then take D3+1 for some reason, when half the time the advantage isn't even that good. So just remove that. It's stupid. Shouldn't exist. Our equipment, where at the start of our activation heal D3, that should just be during the activation at any point, so you can fight then heal D3. It wouldn't make them broken. It's pretty small. I'd like to see Vanguard be relevant again, because I'm a Vanguard over Ranger guy and they're terrible right now, which makes me sad.
What's wrong with the Vanguards?
Their entire ploy is if you are within their radiation zone, which is engagement range, and someone's fighting you, any damage of 3 or higher gets dropped by 1. So, to a minimum of 3. So actually any damage of 4 or higher for normals. And on a 7 health body, that's just not good, because anyone that's striking with like at minimum a normal damage of 4 is like a Marine or someone with a power sword that's just still going to 2-shot you. So that ploy just sucks. It's not useful.
Kind of the Kasserkin problem there with their melee stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you have fists and like a really bad way to fight in low wounds. We're gonna -1 damage for you. And you're just like sitting there and you're like, okay, I guess I'll still die.
Yeah,
right?
It's like our stat lines for our pure units are like our pure characters are really solid, because we're a 4-up save, 10 wounds or 7 wounds, and hitting on 3. But then the way the team is designed of being like, or at least compared to the old one, where it's like you wanted to be this mixed arms force, except going mixed arm is going to cost you all your command points on the second turn, and you're going to have a downside. It's far too much.
Yeah. I have one for you, Connor, which is, you get free dashes on Rangers, right?
Yeah.
But there are, if I remember correctly, the restrictions are kind of silly, which is like has to be Rangers.
Yeah, it
Like
has
is
to be
3
Rangers. It
inches.
can't be the first turn. You have to be farther than 6 away from your opponent, and you have to have a conceal order. It's so
Yeah.
ridiculously restrictive. It's essentially to only use it in command point 2 or turning point 2.
Yeah.
We were talking about it in the command point Discord of like what we would do. It's like make it like the worm blade where don't even have the range restriction, and like just don't be in engagement range. You can't dash. That's fine. But don't care about the order, or say concealed or not visible to your opponent.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that'd be interesting. I don't know. That could be one way for the team to go.
Yeah, I mean, like, who knows? I'm not expecting a ton. I'm hopeful more so that like a lot of the bottom teams that kind of didn't get a ton last balanced data slate are getting more help. Like Casterkin getting something would be nice. Vet guard again, Vespid for sure.
Yeah, Vespids just need like 2 more operatives, maybe. Zach, how do you fix Vespids?
Oh, how do I fix Vespids? Okay, so I think generally Vespids have a relatively okay melee story right now. That it's workable, and into some matchups it's good, so that can probably stay where it is. I'd say the larger problem with Vespids is their shooting isn't nearly as effective as the team ID of move fast and shoot. So like they aren't survivable. Their melee is workable but not great. But their shooting is just like it's not there. And so something needs to change for Vespids to get better. A team that has a very similar team ID to the like shooting profile, the shooting, how shooting should feel for Vespids is how shooting does feel for Rekkas. And by that I mean if you get a lot of 6s, you're feeling great. But in Vespids, there's no carryover mechanic with like, oh, I got a crit, but every attack asks you to always roll a crit, but there's no like way to ever confirm those crits or like manage them in any way or anything like that. So that whole idea of how shooting happens, yeah, that probably needs to be moved up. And then like honestly, I like to do small iterative changes, but one thing you could also try / add on top would be the radiation. I would double its area, which like what effectively triples its area. I would double its range, tripling its area. So like just go from like I think it's like 2, it'll make that like a 4-inch. Just make it bigger. When in doubt, if it's not effective enough or like influencing the board enough, just like push out the radiation gun.
Are you talking about the neutron grenade launcher with that?
Yeah.
With the neutron bombardment, neutron fallout. As soon as 2 inches, cool. Yeah, it's I've got the Vespids painted up. I like them as far as like the vibes of them. What do you think about like making? I mean, do you think it'd be too much if they hit on 3s, or do they need some sort of more rerolls or something, or maybe like built-in severe potentially so they get more crits?
Yeah, I mean there are simple ways to fix them, right? The simple ways would be add some weapons skills or abilities, or increase their hit stat. I would also like to see the team ID pushed more. Like if it was me, I was living in my own little private, whatever, I had a magic wand. It'd be like the more you move, the better it is. If you move 3 inches, you get X. If you move 4 inches, you get this. If you move your whole move stat, you like get blah blah blah. Like I would like them to lean into you gotta be moving, you gotta be feral, and if you do that right, then you're gonna be hitting like a truck.
I kind of like that. I feel like it goes along with the little bit of the Tau vibe with marker lights, because if you put more marker lights on people, you get more stuff. So maybe it's if you end your move more than 2 inches from where you started, you get one thing, or if you end at 4 inches from where you started, or 6 inches from where you started. I like that. I think that's a nice little change.
I think that'd be really cool. Yeah,
it'd be cool.
I think like right now there's like some incentive with the team to like not even technically move, to like be like, oh, I'm rotating my guy, shooting. A lot of times, like I feel like Vespids are like not as interactive as they should be for like a move and shoot team. Like you said, their team identity really struggles.
Yeah, for sure.
Tyler, what about your Hand of the Archon? You were pretty hot on them when the edition came out, and feel like you've cooled down quite a bit.
I feel like they just fall a little flat. They just don't have the juice. I think they need to go up in wound count or maybe an operative, another agent. But even then, I'm not sure. Right now, they just get out activated real hard by some teams, and like, if they're a little bit, it's precarious at moments. Like they still feel super swingy, real good, but like they just don't have it into like Felgor and a couple other teams. It's just uphill battle for them.
Yeah, they were on
Exaction
my
Squad, real rough for them.
I feel like Exaction Squad is just those fucking shields and the Weber. I hate the Weber. I feel like the Weber is too good now. I feel like it sucked last edition and it's too good now.
Exaction Squad, like they're one of those teams that are actually really great. There's just like one or two matchups keeping them down. So like they're a little hard to play. You don't want, like, if you run into one of their straight counters, you're like, all right, let's get this over with. So like it stops people. I was gonna say with Hand of the Archon, they were on my little punch card for teams that were too old and I thought wouldn't be touched, but I realized they're actually a season 2 team, right? So they have 2 years.
Yeah,
they have a whole other year.
Yep.
All right. I mean, honestly, if Goremongers can start with a half tank, obviously Hand of the Archon starts with a pain token for each dude. Like that's what the team needs.
I mean,
Tyler, I know you're saying like, oh, they need a little touch. They do not need a little touch.
They need a big touch right there.
They are languishing. They are super, super languishing. I would say, yeah, half or all of the teams start with a pain token, and that would start to make them. That would start to bring them in line with Corsairs, maybe closing in on Void Dancers. But without that, I mean, you just don't have the tools. I played all of the elf teams at the start of the edition because I didn't know what was happening with any of the editions. I was like, okay, I guess I'll try this stuff. And man, they are so far behind their little brethren over there.
Yeah, the worst elf by far. Yeah, I feel like they're getting less love now that Mandrakes are out, unfortunately. I feel like Mandrakes have kind of replaced them in some ways. Newer sculpts, not that they have the same team identity at all. I feel like they play very differently, but they're faction-wise, they're the same general faction.
Yeah, I agree.
Tyler, if you could just pick a new Dark Eldar team to come out instead, what would be your go-to?
So we have Hand of the Archon. This would be the Archon's Court would be the next evolution. So you would have like an Incubus leader. You would have a Sithlith mercenary. You would have a Medusae person like Psyker. You'd have a Beastmaster and like a whole bunch of beasties. Like it'd be like a bunch of weird Claude Fiends, like a couple of those. Like be good shit.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Bringing back the old Incubus sculpt and making it a kill team leader would be fire flames, as the kids say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think there's like a lot of potential for you do a lot of stuff with the Dark Eldar. You do a Trueborn kill team, but like that would be like an update of what we currently have. I think like a court would be like the coolest way to go. So rather than the like hitmans, like the high level hitman, you're doing like these are the Archon's like personal bodyguards, serious deal.
That'd be pretty sick. It would be fun to get those because they had the kit, right? Or like, but I don't even think you can buy it anymore.
They were all like individual like pieces back in the day, and so like you could have like the court was like you could build it out of certain models on there. I think like really I think the key piece of the team would be the Beastmaster and all the beast, and then you just have like a couple sentient people and mostly just like a bunch of monsters running around the board. You could also do like racks or like what is it, the what are like the not the Chronos engines, the they had them in the last edition of Kill Team. They were pretty scary.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't know Dark Eldar names though. Shit,
Let's
I'll
see.
look it up.
I'll find it. We'll keep looking. We'll keep talking about other stuff. So, but I don't even think they have a model anymore. They were like a big rack, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For me, I had a couple of teams that really needed it. Like you said, Vespid. Um, I thought like I'll start with the sad stuff. This is the stuff that I think really needs to be touched, but probably won't, just because they're what do you call it, season 1 teams. Honestly, you only have so much time, right? If
Yeah,
you're the design team, you're touching they're over 30 things. Like, I say it's sad, but honestly I would rather them be working on other things than working on this stuff. That said, like, I think Wormblade probably need a slight nerf, but I just think they're gonna go untouched, because it's like impossible to collect the team and it's going away soon. So they just um Pathfinder probably needed a relatively or incredibly large buff, but that just ain't in the cards, yo. I think that's not happening.
The
Same
all
with
thing,
Hunterclade, unfortunately.
so this has kind of been the sentiment, is that because they're season 1 teams or first year teams, that they're not going to get touched. Do you think though that they're gonna, because they're not going to get any updates after say October? Do you think that they're gonna just leave them in kind of a broken state one way or another? Do you think they'll try and give them fixes here and there to bring them up to where they're playable for the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think they're going to be playable. And the crazy part is, my prediction is Wormblade will never be touched, and it'll remain one of the better competitive teams if you weren't going to play, like, what's the system called again? I'm so sorry. Classified. If you weren't going to play classified teams, Wormblade will, for the rest of the edition, be great. But I don't think they'll ever be changed. But I think that's fine. Like, they'll be playable in the same way that Compendium was perfectly playable at your local. Like, no one needed Compendium to be some amazing, like, it was great for what it was, and declassified teams will be great for what they are too. Like, I'll love to bust out the novitiates on like a random day to just have fun and like shoot my flamers or whatever. I don't need them to be like the competitive choice to events I can't even bring them to. Whatever, like, that's neither here nor there for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are really worried about classified and declassified, and my general response has been tell people just don't worry about it. Just play the teams you like.
Yeah,
do what you like.
People are getting really hung up on like starting a team. Like, somebody just joined the Discord today and was asking about Corsairs because they heard that they're going away. But I think there's as many times as we've dispelled the myth that you're not going to be able to play them after October, there's still this idea that come October you're going to have to throw your Corsairs and Hunterclade in the trash. I will throw the Hunterclade in the trash anyways, but
one thing we realize is it's crazy that the kill team release box of Hunterclade is still a legal team. Like, we talk a lot of not great stuff on Hunterclade, and they aren't the competitive pick, but I think they're the coolest pick if you have the original models from the kill team release box that you're still playing.
Yeah, they're
from Kill Team 2018. You still got
that exactly.
You bought the 5 Ruststalker expansion, and you're playing those models. I still got those models, so
that's awesome. I mean, and so people talk about like, oh, are my models going to be like usable? It's like, God, guys, these models from 2018 are still they still feel the team. Like, it's gonna be fine.
I mean, they still feel good, but I wish they would be playable in the sense they're enjoyable to play. You know, like Pathfinders and a lot of the teams in year 1 that if they don't get changed, sure, they'll be playable, but they're just going to be so miserably bad that they might as well not be, which is why I'm hopeful they'll at least get touched, if not this balanced data slate, like some love at some point.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, that's the other. So, yeah, to round out my teams I thought were not probably going to get touched in YouTube, Hunterclade was definitely there. I do not see them as like a middle of the pack team.
Yeah, anyone that says they're like C team, I'm like, play like 4 games of them and get back to me. If you can even, build a roster to get to 4 games of them.
Yeah, the crazy part is, and I'm sorry to say this, Connor, but I think Vetguard might be in an okay spot.
Yeah, like Vetguard are fun, which is nice, where it's like they're not necessarily great. And mind you, I I'm no vet guard player and I have to sing a lot more time, but they're fun to play, which is why I had a good time with them, even if I went like 0-7. Compared to, you know, like going 0-7 on Pathfinders or like Vespid, you're just miserable the entire time, which is why I'm like, just give them something that makes them fun to play and then don't touch them, and that's like at least acceptable to me.
Yeah. But here are buffs that I actually think we'll probably see. I think we will see a Breacher buff. We saw a little Breacher adjustment last time, and the design team usually does iterative buffs, right? They'll keep changing something, and then if all else fails after like 4 attempts, they'll hit the what I like to call the scouts button. Like, okay, better knife one more operative. F it. But breachers probably aren't there yet, but they'll probably get a small adjustment, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, breachers also at least are year 2. They were the start of it, so hopefully they can get some loving because they were pretty solid for most of the previous edition. But yeah, ever since this edition, when they finally got their FAQ and they actually made them worse.
Yeah. I think scouts are probably also going to see a small change, probably a better change. Or scouts are a hard one because so every team, if you like look into the rules, every team has a way it's supposed to deal more damage, and then every team has a way it's supposed to take less damage. And scouts are in a really weird spot because the way they deal more damage is like pretty okay. It's like middle of the road, maybe. It's not like the best way to deal more damage, not the worst way. But all of their defensive buffs assume they're in cover. They have, I think, 4 abilities on the team. They're like, okay, if you're in cover, it'll be even better. But the problem is like how missions play out right now in the boards we play on. That never happens. You don't shoot someone in cover. That's a ridiculous prospect. So like scouts are in this really weird spot where like they're a team built for a version of kill team no one plays. If you were for some reason just like out in the open exchanging a bunch of shots, scouts would actually like raise 2 tiers, maybe more. But since like that's just not what kill team is, and there's no way to like win the missions we're on the boards we have, they probably need some help.
All right, so let's do some wild speculation, and everybody, I want to hear your top 3 teams after the balanced data slate. So Zach, we'll let you go first. Top 3 teams after the balanced data slate.
Oh boy. Okay. So I think the design team often has problems around high operative count teams that have a lot of overlapping abilities. So that's my assumption. I think they've gotten elites maybe down. We might see one more elite nerf. So my list is not going to include elites because I believe they will keep receiving the beatings will continue until morale improves for elite players.
Amen.
And so I would expect 11 or more operative teams to be holding the top 3 spots. I'd say right now that's probably going to be Sanctifiers is going to be looking pretty good. Brood Brothers is going to be looking pretty good. And then like a tie between Blooded and Wormblade maybe for 3rd. That would be my guess.
Colts have potential to come in and be a little hot, especially if they get buffed at all.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're a hard team to balance simply because they have so many operatives. You change one thing on Colt, like the actual cultist, then like you're buffing so many individual operatives. It's just hard. It's hard to think about how to change all that stuff. So I could see that. I don't know if Colts are gonna. Yeah, I think they might be letting Colts just kind of slowly fade away into the sunshine. I think this is completely unfounded rumor. Okay, but this is a completely unfounded rumor mill.
That's what we like.
I do believe the Inquisition team and the Colts team weren't really part of the main designs, like jam or what they were doing, and so yeah,
I've heard that too. I've heard that too. Like I've heard that and Justian originally were just kind of dropped on them, and they were kind of planned by another department or another team that's adjacent to the kill team team.
So my expectation is, Colts and Inquisition are no longer a problem, and so they're on the shelf. I could be wrong, but I could be wrong. That's like I said, unfounded rumor.
I mean, they did put them in the year 2, so I expect they might get something, but they're also both, it feels like, relatively good spotted or in good places for the team. So they might just stay on the shelf for the lack of needing any changes unless something crazy happens.
Yeah.
So Connor, what's your top 3 teams after the balanced data slate based on nothing?
Warp Coven, I'm feeling they're coming back. I just can feel it in my bones. I think like Zack said, I think Brood Brothers or Wormblade. I've been talking to people because I was kind of interested in giving one of those a go. Brood Bros might have some sauce there. And then still Sanctifiers, even with some nerfs, unless they're extremely heavy-handed, they just look like they got a lot going on. And there's a beyond just like team abilities, but from an opponent standpoint, you're just going to be blown away by what they can do. So you're going to get mixed up and make a mistake, and they'll punish you for it.
Tyler, what about you? What's your top 3 teams after the balanced data slate based on 0?
Honestly, I'm right there with Zach. I think that it's going to be Brood Bros. Blooded are going to be hot, and then Wormblade are all looking really good, and then Colts potentially. It's going to be those horde teams that either get touched, buffed a little bit, or the other teams get knocked down and kind of bring them up. That's assuming Sanctifiers and Goremongers, get touched in this balanced data slate.
See, now I think it's going to be Hunterclade, Vet Guard, and Phobos, followed closely behind by Blooded.
Is this just teams I've played? This
is very scientific. It has nothing to do with those.
Well, hey, if they want to buff all of those teams into being broken, I'm not going to complain, but I don't think it's very likely. That seems.
But will you win? Is the question.
I mean, I'd win with Hunterclade. I'd be one of the few people that can field all the options available, like literally every option.
Well, we'll find out actually, by the time you're hearing this,
probably this day or maybe the day before.
Unless you're on our Patreon, because we'll probably edit this tomorrow and then it'll be out before then, so you can hear our predictions, see on Wednesday how wrong we were, and then share with everybody else on Thursday how wrong we were. So, because it'll come out Wednesday, right? We think.
Yeah, App will update Wednesday night, even if they don't give us the article till Thursday. So
yeah, well, I think it's always an exciting time when we have a balanced data slate, and then like just a couple days before our tournament too. So that's going to be even more fun. We got to figure shit out this weekend.
I do have one more scorching hot take that I must share.
I gotta hear this.
I believe the Goremongers will be the most unplayable team in Kill Team. That is my prediction after the nerfs, because as someone who was playing a team that could mitigate damage and heal with a melee team ID, I'll tell you what, the nerfs that the design team seems ready to give out to damage mitigation and healing, they seem pretty welcome to that. And once you take that away from Goremongers, if they do like half the job that they did to the novitiate changes, I think that team's going to have a real rough time.
I agree.
Well, speaking of Rum Runner, we've got just a couple tickets left, and actually we've got some breaking news for Rum Runner too. So there is a new game shop here in the Portland area. It's called Bridge City Hobbies, and it's some local Portlandites who are started a new gaming shop in Fairview, Oregon, so not too far out of the main hub of Portland. And they've actually Greg and the team over there actually are giving us a Blood and Zeal box as the top prize for Rum Runner. So we were originally in prizes were just going to be booze and good feelings, but now we've actually got a pretty hot little box there for you. That sounded weird. Bridge City Hobbies, they just opened up. It's bridgecityhobbies.com, and they're going to be doing like I said, they're in Fairview, Oregon. We'll have links in the description. They are a new hobby shop. A lot of them are more painters than gamers even too. So they're going to be doing a lot of painting focused stuff. So they're going to be having Greg, one of the owners, is really close to Sam Lenz actually. So I think they're going to be having Sam and potentially some other artists coming into the area to do some painting classes. If you can order from them online, you can get 15% off if you start an account with them. Which, starting an account, I did it today. Basically, you put in your email, they send you a code. They'll ship for free for over $100. And so they're going to have it's a new hobby shop in Portland, which is awesome.
Always good.
Yeah, they're going to be doing, they've got a lot more stuff in the works. If you get 5 magic booster packs of the same set, you get one free. They've got classes coming from professional mini painters. They're going to be doing board game rentals and buying used board games, it sounds like, down the road too. Paint jams on Wednesday. And it's a cool crowd. I met Greg at Adepticon in Schaumburg a couple of years ago, and this has been kind of a passion of his, and I know he's been working on it. They opened up just this last Saturday, I think was their first day. So they're giving us a Blood and Zeal box. Go check them out. And then, like I said, we'll have a link in the description for their website too. And yeah, 15% off if you order online, and free shipping over $100. And actually under $100, it's $10 shipping. So it's pretty sweet.
That's real solid.
Awesome. So. Also, I don't know if y'all have ever been to like a paint jam someplace, but it's great. Like, honestly, to be like at the same table painting with a bunch of people, it's not something that, I don't know, it's not what I started. Like, when I first got into the hobby, it wasn't what I was doing, but it quickly became like one of my favorite things. Like, there's a store over here, Waystone, and they have like painting Sundays. So grab brunch, sit down, paint a little bit, and chit chat about, catch up on your week or whatever. The vibes are immaculate. So I assume that Wednesday is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I know that like painting is a lot of times a very like individual thing, but I know that like my buddy Nick, who comes down, we just sit in my painting cave and watch The Office over and over and paint together, and something about having someone there painting with you seems to make the painting go faster. You can show them quicker, or you can show them your stuff and get some instant feedback. So yeah, I don't want to check out one of the painting jams too. So Zack, disregardingdice.com, all your amazing photography. You're gonna have some a guide coming up for Sanctifiers down the road, and actually I heard on Squad Games you're gonna be doing some photography for them too.
Yeah, going down to AVTT, so gonna be taking pictures of all of the entries. They have like their little, I think it's called Brush Forged or something.
It's Forge Brush, yeah.
There we go. So I'll be doing that. I'm very excited. Also, yeah, for plugs, I actually just finished up a guide for novitiates. So anyone who is like interested in their first 10, 20 games of novitiates, essentially put together a little guide for like what you should be thinking about doing with the team, a few combos that you're going to want to try to get off your first couple games, and then just kind of how the team plays and all that stuff. So that's also on Disregarding Dice. Yeah. But no, excited for it.
And then Connor, as part of your
oh
Patreon
boy,
loss,
I was hoping maybe we'd get through it without any.
No, so you actually we're sponsored by the Department of Government Efficiency, and we need you to do a quick promo for them if you could.
Oh, do you have a script, or is this just off the dome?
No, this is just from your personal experience with them.
Do you want everyone's Mondays to be even more miserable? Do you want to write emails that just go to some random site that are probably being allocated by an AI chatbot, or likely to be hacked by some foreign government? Do you want to make sure that people are being fired left and right, and you can't hire any new people, and all the upper parts of your management are being forced to retire? Well, boy, do I have the department for you. Welcome to the Department of Government Efficiency, run by the guy that keeps making trucks that explode. Sure, we're bringing more fascism into the US, but who doesn't love that? We just had our vice president kill the Pope. What's next? Sign up now and get in on the fun.
That was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, hey, at least I can
slow clap.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, no, actually, that was off the cuff. That was very good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty accurate. Like fucking, you see where they went into a place, and then immediately after they created some logins, Russia tries to log in. The fuck.
Yeah, I love.
Anyways, before we get
woke.
on to political ranting, yeah, this is a woke podcast. If you're not woke, get the fuck out of here. By the way, just wanted to let y'all know that you can check me out at Lowbrow Minis. I post woke stuff all the time on Instagram or dicethrower.bigcartel.com. Yeah, that's all my plugs.
Yeah, at Spanaway on everything for Connor. I'm at Painting Cave Minis. Patreon.com/Vox Cascadia podcast is where you can support the show currently, besides our sponsorship with Doge. So we appreciate all of our patrons. Zack, one of the first patrons and one of our high tier patrons. We appreciate your support, buddy. Oh, thank you for keeping the lights on with us.
Thanks for being part of the community. Yeah, you're an integral part.
Oh yeah, you're one of the plethora of woke podcasts that I donate to.
That's good.
Hell
so,
yeah.
Jenna, Cody, Sam, Sean. Well, Sean's back on. So, Nick, Holly, Zarin, Greg, Rob, Zach. There he is again. Scott and Keaton are current patrons. Please, again, appreciate. Couldn't do this without you. At least not without spending a bunch of our own money. So so we really appreciate you. Tyler and I are going to be playing a tournament in May, so I think we're going to do. Connor's just so good at the advertisements. We're going to have Connor continue to do that. But Tyler and I have a tournament coming up in May, and I think we're going to do another one of the loser Patreon punishment things. So keep an eye out for that. Think about punishments you want. Thank you for taking it easy on us last time. I think Connor got off pretty good on that one.
I did for the most part.
Yeah, pretty easy. So
yeah, and then there is a couple tickets left for the Rum Runner Rumble this weekend at Just Rum in Sandy, Oregon. We'll have links in the description. It's going to be, so for anybody going, it's not a sweaty tournament. It's a fun tournament. This is going to be one to take the dumbest team that you have that you want to just play with. We're going to have really ridiculous maps, ridiculously awesome maps, including long team, I guess, right, Tyler?
Long team, yeah, absolutely. I don't think I'm going to get tall team done in time, but long team is last little bits of stuff are drying right now. So
I'm bringing my just straight up beta Decima board. That'll be fun. But it's $55. You get 2 drinks, you get lunch, and you get to play 3 games of Kill Team at a distillery on some ridiculous boards. And Zach, unfortunately, you're not going to make it. You got another commitment this weekend, but we're going to miss you, buddy.
I know. The FOMO is so real. It's crazy. You guys have like custom boards. You're drinking my favorite. Also, I don't know if I told you this, but my partner, that's actually where she was born, in Sandy.
In a distillery?
So she was also super, yeah, yeah, right. So she was also super, super excited just to go back and visit. So yeah, my day is ruined and my displeasure is immeaveable.
Wow.
I will not be there.
Hopefully this goes as good as it seems like it's going to go, because as I've been doing research, I'm making air quotes with my fingers, at different breweries, I feel like there's a lot of different places that events like this can happen. I talked to a brewery out in Beaverton, actually, who's totally down to Binary Brewing in Beaverton, totally down to do kind of the same thing. So hopefully it's a hit and people like it, and we can do more fun stuff like this. And
absolutely,
yeah. So
provide a variety to the scene. So
yeah, I mean,
we want.
We've got the sweaty tournaments going on, but we also want the tournaments where you just sweat and booze. So right? No. So well, thank you for joining us. Thanks, Zach, for coming on. We appreciate having you back. You're a third time now, I guess.
Well, something like that.
Yeah, third time.
Always great having you, buddy.
Yeah, I think
anytime. I'll tell you guys how to somehow win with Sanctifiers through all the nerfs, next time around.
Yeah, so you can, when they're right there next to Hunter Clade on the win ranking, you can tell us how to deal with them, because here's the thing. Novitiates weren't great for a while, but he stuck it out, Connor. He didn't fold. He didn't put his toys away. He played with his toys until they got good again, and that's the commitment I need from you, buddy.
It's a little late for that. I haven't been committed to them for 7 months.
And this is why the Omnissiah has left you.
No, I'm married. Not our marriage. Good Lord.
Are you breaking up on the podcast?
No, I would never. I wouldn't break up with her unless I'm dead, and even then, my ghost would still be married.
Oh, all right. So cool. Have a good night, everybody.
Sleep tight.